Hi there. Okay, so today we're going to look at finding the nth term. Well, we're just going to look at finding and using the nth term. Now, if you're not sure what nth term is, essentially what that is about a way of describing a sequence which goes up or down by the same amount each time. All right, so nth term represents what that sequence kind of looks like. So the idea of something going up in threes, or something going up in fives, or something going down in threes and fives, we can represent that like a sequence, and it tends to be called the nth term. And also we'll go through that as we progress through this, but that's what this is all about. All right, so to find the nth term, you need to firstly know to find the difference between the terms. So for example, it's going up in 3, 4, 5, 6, or something like that, and then the value that goes in front of the n. Okay, and again, this will make more sense in a second. You then need to see what you have to add or subtract to get to the sequence. Okay, and again, that doesn't make an awful lot of sense at this point without really looking at a set of numbers. All right, so let's have a look. So what we've got is 4, 7, 10, 13, and 16. And I'm hoping that looking at that sequence, you can spot the pattern, and this goes up in threes. All right, okay, so if you think about your 3 times table, it'd be 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So this is not quite your 3 times table, but it's similar. All right. But we can say for certain it goes up in threes. All right, so when we're going to write the nth term, what we're going to say is it's going to be 3n. Okay, that's your first bit. All right, so just take that for granted for the time being. It's 3n. Okay, it goes up in threes. All right, but of course it doesn't go up exactly like the 3 times table. So we've got to do something to the 3n. All right, we've got to try and figure out what we need to do to the 3n to get to this sequence. So if it was 3, 6, 9, 10. Well, what do I need to do to 3, which would be the first term, to get to the 4? Well, I need to add 1 to it. All right, it's as simple as that. All right, so what do I need to do to 3, which would be in the 3 times table, to get to 4? I need to add 1. So if I write 3n, which is the 3 times table, it gives you 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. If you look at all those numbers and compare them, so if I look at the 4 and the 3, this one that I've got is 1 more than it. This one, that one is 1 more than that one. 10 is one more than 9, 13 is 1 more than 12, 16 is 1 more than 15. It's 1 more each time, okay? And because we need to add to all of them, then that means we need to add it to all for 3 times table, all right? So the nth term is called 3n plus 1, all right? So 3n plus 1. And then it's as straightforward as that, okay? That's the nth term. We're going to use it later so to explain why, but for now, you know, that is the nth term. So what it goes up in or down in, n, and then whatever I need to do to that first digit, so whatever I need to do to 3 to get to the 4 is what kind of goes there. All right, so add 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4, that's your first digit. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. All right, so let's have a look at this one. So hopefully you can spot the pattern. Well, this goes up in 6s. All right, so 6 isn't, so that was going to be 6n, isn't it? All right, so 6n. That's my 6 times tables. So this would be 6n exactly. 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. But of course, it's not that. It is 5 less, isn't it? So 6 and 1. What I've got here is 5 less than this one. That one is 5 less than this one. That is 5 less than this one. So it's 5 less every single time. So what do I need to do to 6 to get to 1? I need to take away 5. So my nth term is 6n minus 5. All right, and that's the nth term, essentially. Now your sequence can go up, your sequence go down. Doesn't really matter. If it goes down though, then this value here is going to be negative. And then when you're trying to figure out what value goes here, you've got to consider the fact that this is negative. All right, because remember what I was trying to do is what do I do to this 6 to get to that number? I need to take away 5. So you need to be a little bit careful. All right, let's have a look in terms of using the nth term, because it's all right saying, oh, here's the nth term, if you don't know what that means and you don't know how to apply it. So let's try and apply it. So the nth term is used to find any term in the sequence. That's what we're doing it for. That's the purpose of it, really. So that if we want to try and figure out maybe the 50th term, rather than just continuing the sequence and keep going, then if I've got this little nth term, it's going to support me in doing that. Right, so the n, the n represents the term number. All right, so I didn't mention that one before, so I didn't want to overcomplicate it, but actually the n represents the position in the sequence, the term number. All right, so for example, if you wanted to find the 7th term, you'd replace or substitute n with a 7. All right, and again, we didn't do that, but we are going to do it now. Right, so if the nth term is 7n, all right, and that means it's exactly the 7 times table, then the first term is going to be 7 times 1, all right, because n represents the term number. All right, so the first term would be 7 times n, which should be 7 times 1, which should be 7. Okay, as you would expect, it's the 7 times table. If I asked you for the fourth term, well, again, because I've told you it's a 7 times table, the fourth term is surely it's going to be 7 times 4, which of course it is. I'm replacing the n with the 4. It's going to be 7 times 4. Right, when I say replace, I should say substitute. This is 7 times 4, so it'll be 28. So if I wanted the ninth term, the same kind of process is that I want this going to be 7 times 9, which is going to, of course, give me 63. All right. So if I was going to continue that sequence of 7n, that sequence, it would go 7, 14, 21, 28, and so on and so on and so on. All right. But it's a quick way of trying to figure that one out. All right. So that's quite straightforward. So let's have a look when it's a little bit different. All right. So your first term is when n is 1. All right. So 4 times 1 is 4. Take away 2 is going to give me 2. All right. So that is my first term of that specific sequence. Now I don't have that sequence given to me. All I've got is the nth term of that sequence. All right. So that's going to be my first number. Now, because I know that this 4n means it goes up in 4, then from here I could go 2, 6, 10, 14, and so on and so on and so on, and keep going up in 4s, and that would give me the entire sequence. So that should be fine. But of course, I don't really want to go through that anyway. But I did also, because I mentioned it, if you listen to what I say, I'll say it one more time. It goes up in 4, so I've got 2, 6, and 10. So I'm expecting my third term to be 10. But I can check. So when I substitute 3 into here, or what's 4 times 3? 12. And take away 2, 10. There you go. All right. There you go. And the 8th term, again, I could continue with that pattern. I could try and think about keep going up in 4s, but I'd rather not. And now that I've understood that I've got it's just put the number in this, then it's much easier. Well, 4 times 8 is 32. Take away 2 is going to give me 30. And that's going to give me my, basically, your 8th term. So you could keep going up, all right, and you would eventually get there. But of course, in an exam, what you've got to consider, and obviously try to avoid that here, is that what happens if they ask you for the 85th term? Okay, well, the 85th term would be quite difficult to achieve if you wrote them all out. Whereas if I just did 4 times 85 and take away 2, then I'd get my answer straight away, and I don't need to go down that rigmarole of actually trying to go through that entire process. All right. So that is what the nth term is. That's what it's all about, and that's why we kind of need to kind of figure it out. All right. So going back to the kind of the original one, once you've got the nth term from it, then using it is what something you are likely to be kind of questioned on. All right. So they might just say, well, here's a sequence, and then from that, they might not necessarily say find the nth term, but I guess they would probably expect you to find the nth term. Is they might ask you for something subsequently following on from that. So if you continued that pattern, what would you get? So that's why you would need the nth term. All right. Well, like I said, as normal, if you want to kind of do a practice on that, please visit maths-school.co.uk. The link is at the bottom of the page. But thanks for listening.